Hi there everybody! As promised, today is the first installment of my 31 days of makeup, and I decided to keep it somewhat simple today. I wanted to begin with a look that most people of any skill level will be able to do, but also keep it creative, because this is actually a goth makeup look that I really enjoy looking at. I think it's so cool when people make it their everyday look, but it's certainly not one of the most popular goth looks out there. Usually when you look up goth makeup, you see a lot of trad goth, you see a lot of death metal, you see a lot of new goth, but you don't see a lot of that cool kind of tribal, pagan in the woods type look. So that's what I'm going for today. And before we get started, I do want to discuss some of the important points of this look if you think it's one that you'd be interested in doing. The first is, of course, make sure that you research, because if you're going for a very specific look, as in a specific culture, you want to make sure you get your colors and symbols right. Otherwise, it's going to run together with everybody else's kind of tribal makeup, and no one's going to be able to tell what you were going for. So look up the culture that you're trying to emulate. Find symbols that make sense with that culture, find colors that make sense, and that way it won't be confused for something else. And more importantly, of course, if you're trying to go for a culture outside one that has anything to do with your race or your roots, please really look into it first, really do your research, really think about it before you just dive right in, because there is a potential that you could end up insulting or offending someone unintentionally, and I know that you don't want to do that. So let's get started. One of the really fortunate things about this makeup look is that you don't really have to worry that much about base makeup, since the colors on your face, that basically look like war paint, are gonna be kind of smeared everywhere. It's pointless for you to sit here, baking to high heavens and everything, because it's just gonna disappear anyway. So all I really do is put on a little bit of concealer just for under eyes and stuff, and other than that, you're basically done with your base for this look. All I'm doing is just putting it wherever I'm gonna have a little bit of redness peeking through, regardless of what I do with the colors later. And where I shave my eyebrows, because it gets really red there and really horrible. When I'm patting in concealer, I actually prefer to use a clean finger over tools, because I find that since concealer, for me anyway, is going into such a small area, because I don't do like the huge triangle or anything, it tends to just get smeared everywhere like a huge coat of foundation if I use a blender or a brush. So this is just what works for me, and this is something that is going to go across the board for this look. Don't get too hung up on the tools that I decide to use, because when you're doing detail work, like the kind that's going to go into this look, it's kind of a trial and error thing. No two people are exactly alike. Some people, for like symbols on your face or really thin straight lines, are going to prefer to use a really thin brush, like an eyeliner brush. Some people are going to want a flat brush. Some people are going to want to just smear it with their finger. It depends on what works best for your skin, and it depends on what you want it to look like. If you want it to look a little messier, or if you want it to look a little cleaner. Now that that's done, the only other face makeup I'm going to worry about is going to be some contour, because when you're going for that war paint look, you want to look as intimidating as possible. Think about why people wore war paint. They wanted to scare somebody away or scare them in battle, so they were off their game. So I like to make my contour a little bit deeper than I usually would, so I look a little more skeletal. I am very much one of those people who lays it on first and then blends it in, whether it's powder products or cream and liquid. It's just easier for me, and again, makeup doesn't really have any rules. You can do whatever is best for you for this. Sorry if I keep turning my head. I'm trying to get used to it. I haven't done a ton of makeup type videos on here yet, so I need to get used to what I'm supposed to be doing. Now that the base makeup is all laid down and ready to go, it's time to decide what kind of war paint makeup look you're going for. My family mostly came from Ireland, and they are extremely proud of their Irish heritage, and I share in that pride, so I thought it would be fun to go for a Celtic look. And I'm sure that a lot of you have noticed online, if you look up Celtic war paint, it's either a like gray blue or a blue green, and a lot of that is because of Braveheart. In reality, from what I've researched anyway, people in Scotland wouldn't have necessarily had the blue war paint. That was more of a Welsh thing, but you know, Hollywood has to look good on screen. Most people for this kind of look would do it in all black, so it looks a little more goth, but the beauty of goth is it's whatever you want it to be. It's unique, it's original, it's you. So you do it in whatever way makes you happy. I'm actually going to begin by using a big fluffy brush to put black all over the top of my forehead. I love when people do that. I think it looks so cool and kind of creepy, and it pulls in that dark, spooky element of goth makeup. Don't worry about it looking even and perfect, because think about back when this kind of look first began, you'd have been just grabbing handfuls of it and rubbing it all over your face with your hands and your fingers. It wasn't gonna look perfect back then either. You're not going necessarily for perfection here. You're just going for really cool and interesting. I just disappeared for 1 second because I realized that, in my opinion, I'd gone a little bit too heavy-handed on the extra war paint contour. And if you ever have an issue where you think that you've gone a little too heavy with your contour or your blush or anything, all you have to do is either get a teeny tiny bit of concealer on the same brush and just kind of mix it in to mute it a little bit, or what I did was I grabbed some white face powder and kind of layered it over top and just blended it out so it looked a little bit more calm. Next, I'm gonna do my eyes and my lips because I don't want this to be too plain. I want it to reflect me, and I like having the really heavy, crazy eyeshadow and everything. So that's what we're gonna do next. So I'm gonna go for this really black, really dark smoky eye and really dark lips because, again, it doesn't matter if you're going a little crazy with everything, you want to look intimidating. Since this look is going to have a lot of that blue-green color in it, that's what I'm kind of going to start with. For this kind of look and any of the looks that I do, just remember you don't have to make anything an exact copy of what you see on YouTube. Makeup has no rules. Even if there seems to be a theme for a certain style of makeup, you don't have to stick to it to the letter. Make it your own. Make it something you love. Use colors that make you feel a certain kind of way. I never want anyone to feel like they have to go out and buy like the specific makeup I'm using, or that they have to make it look just like the end result. I want everyone to do what makes them happy. Normally, I would put a nice highlight in this inner corner, but again, since we're going for kind of creepy, I want it to be a lot darker than I would usually do it. Now I'm just gonna lay down some black in the crease. This brush sucks. If your brush isn't working for you, find one that does. And again, I'm not worrying too much about this looking all beautiful and polished, because this is gonna be a messy look. It's a messy style. I'm not as worried about it being perfectly blended in this area and everything. It just needs to look crazy. And again, lots of black over the lid. I promise that as I do these tutorials this month, I'll get better at facing the camera more. This is my first one. I hope you guys can forgive that I keep kind of looking away a little bit. I am trying very hard. I guess this month is going to be good practice for me. I'm just dragging that same black underneath. I want it to be really thickly laid on and smeared out. We're not going in for a nice thin clean line this time. Well, can be clean, just doesn't have to be as thin as you would probably normally make it. I'm not going to use any eyeliner for this look because we used a lot of black already, so it's not really necessary. It's not even going to show up. If you want to use eyeliner for this eye look, I would suggest using a white. It's going to be really striking and kind of spooky looking because it's not what people will be expecting. But I'm choosing to not use anything. I just don't think it's necessary. And I'm also not gonna wing anything under here. I don't understand the point, for myself anyway, of doing winged liner on an eyeshadow look that's this round. I think that it always looks kind of out of place. But again, no rules in makeup. If it's something that you can do really well, that looks really pretty on you, go ahead. And I'm gonna start my mascara now. This was just a little trial size of the Too Faced Damn Girl mascara, and I got the trial because I didn't know how I'd feel about it, because they've pretty much only been known for one for a really long time, and Better Than Sex had been my favorite forever, like had to have it all the time. But this one actually I think is a little bit better. I think it separates lashes better, and I think it makes them a lot fuller looking. That being said, if you're someone who likes to have that really chunky, almost 80s looking mascara, I'd say avoid this like the plague because it's going to do the exact opposite of what you want. I take a lot of time doing my mascara because I want to have those really big, wide, dolly eyes all the time. I lied about the eyeliner. I am going to put a little bit of a pencil liner in the waterline of my eyes just because I love how dark this look already is and I want it to continue. I don't want the really bright waterline I have to kind of ruin what we've done here. This isn't the best pencil liner in the entire world. Actually, it's pretty terrible, but I wasn't planning on doing eyeliner, so I just grabbed whatever was the quickest and closest thing. But I'm sure you can find a better one than what I have here if you're gonna do this. Next, I'm gonna put my lipstick on. I wanna do that because I wanna make sure that all of my regular makeup is already on so that I can just layer all those cool lines and symbols over the top of it. And for this look, I'm going for a very muted, very dulled down lip color because I want the lines I'm gonna paint over my lips to be more striking than the lipstick. Alright, so I did a little work off screen, as you can see. Don't worry, this is not the final product. I just took a little pencil liner and I gave myself a guide for where all of the designs are going to go on my face, just so that I know what I was doing, because if you don't give yourself a little bit of a guide beforehand, you're more apt to make mistakes and it's going to be difficult to get them off. So in we go now. I'm gonna go for the designs that are less difficult first. And the reason I'm using this brush is because it makes the lines a little messier. And for me personally, I wanted this to look messy, as I've repeated several times already. So there, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. The only bad thing about using a liquid lipstick to do this like I am is that you have to wait for it to dry if you're layering designs. This part's gonna suck. Why did I do this to myself? At least it looks cool. I hope. I think it does. The reason I chose this as the kind of beginner level video is because it's okay if it's messy. It doesn't have to be as perfect as other makeup looks, and there's a lot of room for creativity. It's not as structured as some other looks can be. This next part you could definitely afford to skip, but just to kind of brighten it up, I'm going to use a slightly lighter blue color just over the top of all that blue-green that I already laid down. And this is the final look that we have. I think it's really cool, I think it's really fun, and I think it's a little bit more outside the box and different from what the masses are doing. So I hope you enjoyed this video. As I mentioned in my last video, I'm trying my best to make sure I get one of these up every single day throughout the month of October. So hopefully you enjoy it, and until next time, do something that makes you happy today, no matter what anyone else thinks about it, and I will see all of you again soon. Bye-bye!